All right, today we're diving into a really fascinating idea, the claim that you can combine your personal faith with some very precise timing to increase your chances of having a baby boy. We're going to break down this all-natural method, piece by piece, to see exactly how it's supposed to work, and maybe more importantly, what common mistake might be getting in the way.
So, let's just get right to it, right? Can you actually influence whether you have a boy? I mean, conventional science would probably tell you it's just a 50-50 coin toss. But the method we're exploring today suggests there's a specific strategy you can follow. So let's dig in and see what it's all about.
So, the approach we're looking at here is built on two core ideas that, might seem a little unrelated at first glance: personal faith and biological timing. Our goal here is to really unpack both of those to understand the whole picture. We're going to lay it all out step by step so you can see exactly how this is all supposed to fit together. What we're doing here is basically boiling down all the core ideas from the source material into a clear, simple guide. And look, this isn't just some abstract theory. It's based on personal testimony that's then combined with some pretty established ideas about biology and timing that have actually been around for decades.
Okay, so this whole strategy is built on two pillars, and both are considered equally important. Let's start with the first one. This one really provides the spiritual foundation for the whole journey, kind of setting the intention before any of the science even comes into play.
So, that first pillar, it's faith. The source points to this specific scripture to really highlight how important it is to have a specific intention. The idea here is that the whole process begins not just in the world of biology, but with a clear, focused, and very specific request for the outcome you're hoping for.
And then we have the second pillar, which takes a big shift from the spiritual to the scientific. It's a pretty well-known strategy called the Shettles method. And honestly, it's all based on a simple biological fact. The sperm that make boys and the sperm that make girls, well, they're actually fundamentally different from each other.
Now, to really understand why timing is so critical to this whole method, we need to look at the two teams in this race, if you will, the X and the Y sperm. And as you're about to see, they have very different strengths and weaknesses. Leveraging that difference is the key to this entire strategy.
This is where it gets really interesting. The whole method basically boils down to a super simple analogy. You've got the boy producing Y sperm. Think of them as sprinters. They are incredibly fast, but they're also kind of fragile, and they don't last very long. Then you have the girl producing X sperm. They're the marathon runners, way slower, but much more durable and totally built for the long haul.
So here it is, the most crucial point. The entire strategy is about timing intercourse to create the absolute perfect race conditions. The whole goal is to make sure that the exact moment the egg is released, the track is clear for those fast but fragile sprinter sperm to get there first, without the marathoner sperm already waiting for them at the finish line.
Okay, so now that we get the why behind the timing, let's get into the practical side of things, the how-to. The source lays out a very clear three-step process for putting all this theory into actual practice.
It all starts with step 1. Tracking your cycle to really understand your body's unique rhythm. Then for step 2, you use tools like ovulation predictor kits to get really precise to pinpoint that key moment the race is about to begin. And finally, step 3, the most crucial part, timing intercourse to fall within a very narrow 12-hour window right at ovulation. This gives those sprinters their absolute best shot.
Now, the source points out a really common mistake that people make, one that actually gives the advantage to the girl producing sperm. And that mistake is having intercourse in the days leading up to ovulation instead of right at the moment of it. And this right here explains perfectly why that timing is so vital. Remember our marathon runner, the X sperm? It can survive for up to 5 days. So if you have intercourse a few days before ovulation, those super resilient X sperm will just hang out and wait for the egg to show up, long after the fragile Y sperm sprinters are gone. The goal is a fresh start for everyone, right when the starting gun fires.
Okay, so besides timing, the source talks about one more factor, the woman's internal environment. It brings up some older advice that was tied to the Shettles method, which suggested douching to make the environment more alkaline because supposedly Y sperm prefer that. But, and this is a big but, this is explicitly not recommended today for a bunch of health reasons.
So, this brings us to the updated part of the method. Instead of douching, the new advice is to focus on your diet.
The idea is that eating alkaline-rich foods, we're talking leafy greens, citrus fruits, nuts, that kind of thing, can naturally help create a more favorable environment for Y sperm in a much safer and healthier way.
So we've looked at faith, we've looked at biological timing, and we've looked at environmental factors. So how does this all come together in the end? Let's take a look at the final perspective offered in the source material.
You know, the source is really direct about what conventional science has to say about all of this. From a purely biological perspective, with no other factors considered, it's a 50-50 shot. It's a coin toss. Simple as that.
So the final takeaway here is pretty straightforward. Since the method is completely natural, tracking your cycle, maybe tweaking your diet, it's presented as a harmless strategy. For anyone who believes in that connection between faith and timing, it's positioned as something that, hey, might just be worth a try.
And that brings us to the final question, really the one at the very heart of this method. Is it all just a 50-50 coin toss like science suggests? Or could a combination of focused faith and really precise timing actually tip the scales? That's the question this whole approach is built on, and we'll leave that one for you to decide.